Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video. Today, I'll be ranking every derby. Well, not really. Basically, I found this article, a link in the description, that was ranking the 15 best derbies in Europe. So I've just taken the 15 from that list and ranked them myself. So yeah, this obviously it's probably not going to be great rankings because I'm not going to pretend I've watched all of these, but from what I imagine, and yeah, let me know if you agree in the comments below, and let's get into it. And then there's 15 of them. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but we're from 15th to first. So in 15th place, we've got Barcelona versus Espanyol. It's the Barcelona derby. It seems like it's decently heated, like they don't like each other, but also it feels like Espanyol is just like the little brother because Barcelona are so successful, whereas Espanyol are nowhere near as successful. So I do kind of feel like the derby can't be like the best if the teams aren't super even. Like if one team's just obviously better, like Barcelona is compared to Espanyol, the derby's not as fun. Whereas it's more fun if they're like competing in the same sort of level. Whereas Barca's going for titles, whereas Espanyol sort of mid to low table. So yeah, that's why it's 15th out of these ones. It's the bottom. 14th place, we've got Schalke versus Dortmund. Another one where they used to be very even, but nowadays, like they're not. Like Schalke have been pretty rubbish since sort of 2020. Dortmund are obviously much better. It does definitely feel a bit heated, but also like I just feel like Dortmund is also the bigger brother now. Like they used to be pretty even. Like Schalke used to get top four pretty regularly, but now they don't. So it feels like Dortmund is just kind of easy win for them. 13th place, we've got the Manchester derby. I feel like I don't know. This was kind of when in like the 90s and 2000s, obviously this derby was just Man United winning all the time, and they didn't even play each other that often because a lot of the time Man City wasn't in the Premier League. And then in the early throughout the whole like 2010s, it was pretty like tight even. But nowadays it just feels like Man City are just obviously better, and also it doesn't feel that heated because obviously a lot of Man United and Man City fans aren't actually from Manchester, so they don't have the same crosstown rivalry. Like I imagine they don't like each other, but they're not like they don't hate each other like some of the other derbies on this list that you'll see. 12th place, we've got the North London derby, another one that used to be pretty heated, but nowadays kind of seems like all the players are friends and they're sort of just like hanging out in the tunnel and stuff. Like I don't know, and also Arsenal have kind of been more dominant throughout the history of this derby. Obviously, Spurs in like the late 2010s have become more competitive, but it still feels like Arsenal are just better overall. And yeah, it doesn't feel like they dislike each other that much either. Like the fans, I don't know, they seem pretty friendly. 11th place is Liverpool versus Man United. Now, I don't think Liverpool Everton's on this list, so you can't hate me for saying that this derby's better because that's not what I'm saying. Because the other list didn't have Liverpool versus Everton, so they're not mentioned in this. But this does feel more heated than the Manchester derby and the Liverpool derby, just because these two have always been on the same level. Because obviously Liverpool have been better than Everton, like a lot recently. So even though Everton do win occasionally, Liverpool are title challengers, whereas Everton aren't. Same with what I just said about the Manchester derby. Whereas this kind of feels like they don't like each other, like because these two have been like especially like over the history of English football, these two are the most successful teams, and they're from a similar region of the country as well. So I guess that helps. But recently, Liverpool have just been smashing them a bit. But when Man United do get the wins, like they did in the FA Cup last season, it means a lot for them for it to be against Liverpool. 10th place, we've got Juventus versus Inter Milan. Another one that they're not from the same city, but they're sort of the two big historical teams from Italy. There's obviously also AC Milan as well, which is also on this list. But I feel like these two, not from the same city, but they don't like each other. They're always competing for stuff against each other. Obviously, Juventus were very successful in the 2010s, whereas Inter Milan have become more successful of late. So yeah, it's pretty. I don't think they like each other. I'll just say that. Ninth place, we've got Ajax vs Feyenoord. Another one where they're not from the same city, but they are like the two big teams along with PSV. Um, I swear, like not that long ago, a game got like postponed because like the fans are being crazy, and some of these like non-major countries, like you'll see a bit later on, the fans get kind of crazy with it. Like these guys don't like each other. They've sort of been the historical teams in the Netherlands, and yeah, there's been some pretty crazy fan interactions. Eighth place, we've got the Milan derby. Now I just talked about Inter versus Juventus, so now it's the Milan one. This derby's kind of the crazy one. Like I think it's the only one in this list where they play in the same stadium, so it's kind of crazy. But yeah, it's definitely heated. They don't like each other. Um, and yeah, they've always been they're pretty similar levels as well. It's not like some of the other derbies where one team's obviously better. Like these guys are always around a similar level to each other. And yeah, even though they're in the same stadium, I don't think they like each other very much. In seventh place, we've got Porto vs Benfica. So now we're in Portugal. Two of the most historical teams, along with Sporting as well. I'm not going to pretend to say I watch a lot of Portuguese league football, but I'm pretty sure this did happen like this week. I'm pretty sure Benfica did just beat Porto like this week in this derby. I'll just check to make sure I'm not wrong, but I'm not going to pretend like I watch heaps of Portuguese football, but from what I know and seen, this is pretty heated and they don't like each other. Yeah, Benfica 4, Porto 1. So this derby has literally just happened. So yeah, I mean, pretty recent in mind. I'm not really sure if anything crazy happened, but they don't seem to like each other very much. Sixth place, we've got Celtic versus Rangers. This is like the derby. Like this is like a massive cultural divide. Like there's something to do with religion and beliefs or something. Like one certain religion supports Rangers, some support Celtic. I know that Rangers are like part of the UK. Like they want to be part of the UK, whereas Celtic, they're like Scottish. Like you know what I mean? Like I know when they're like when like the Queen died and they're doing minutes of silence, Celtic were like booing it, whereas Rangers are like very like respectful of it and stuff. So there's definitely a cultural divide, but the one problem is they do play each other like 25 times a season, which kind of makes it go down a bit since we do see it like all the time. But they are like the two teams in Scotland, so this is get pretty heated. Fifth place is the Rome derby. Lazio versus Roma. No, these guys share the same stadium as well. Sorry when I said about the other one. I think, is it a thing in Italy? Because I know Juventus and Torino used to share stadium, I'm pretty sure. Is it like a thing that they share stadiums? But yeah, another derby where they're in the same stadium um, in Rome. These guys don't like each other very much, as you can see by this picture. And I think the fans have their differences as well. And I've got to put it up here, to be honest. I don't really know why, I just have. Fourth is Galatasaray Fenerbahce. This one I'm not going to pretend I've watched a lot, but from what I've heard about Turkish football, everything's crazy. And as you can see by the picture as well, look at what's happening. Turkish football is mental. The fans are crazy. You get owners on the pitch. You got Jose Mourinho now at Fenerbahce. So I know that it gets pretty heated in Turkish football, and I can imagine that these guys hate each other. Third place is Olympiakos versus Panathinaikos. So now we've got to Greece, another country that their football is definitely kind of crazy. Like I know the Nottingham Forest owner owns Olympiakos as well, and he's pretty mental. So from what I've heard from him, then Greece football must also be a bit crazy. And yeah, I mean, these guys definitely don't like each other from what I've heard. And some of the countries that are lesser known, like Greece and Turkey, and you'll see in the second place as well, they just don't like each other at all. So in some of the bigger team derbies, like obviously they want to beat each other, but they're not doing anything crazy. Whereas here they are. In second place, we've got the Belgrade derby, Red Star versus Partizan, and this derby is crazy. I saw like a video on it not that long ago, and yeah, it's crazy. Like if you see by the background, there's flares everywhere. Like everyone's just going crazy with it. Like yeah, so this one has to be up here because I think there's violence here so often. Like, I remember one time, I think the Partizan fans were like ripping out the seats or something of at the Red Star Stadium, something like that. So yeah, these guys cause destruction to each other to another level. And finally, in first place, the obvious one, Barcelona, Real Madrid. They might not be like the most like crazy ones, but it's the OG derby. Like, if you ask someone a derby, they're gonna pick this one. Like, everyone knows this derby. Like, it's Barcelona versus Real Madrid. I mean, the like 2010s when you had Ronaldo and Messi and all those other players was crazy in these sides. Obviously, now recently Barcelona did just absolutely slap up Real Madrid. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's still the derby. Like, anyone who knows football, tell them it's El Clasico and they'll be excited. They know what it means, you know. They know these teams, and yeah, I just have to put it first place. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you agree with me. Let me know other videos you want to see on the channel, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.